we're gonna jump into some Gnomoria. I let it progress a little bit since the last time I recorded. In fact, I think I've gone almost a month. Now, a month is only 12 days, if I remember correctly. So it's not like a huge amount of time that's passed. But we're just now jumping into, like, say, the next stage of complexity. And these stages of complexity are really based on your own personal, how you play, how you set things up, how you, the maps that you've chosen. All right, as you can see, we've finished hollowing out all of these main areas on the inside of this hill and opened up our water resources there and put them well there and there. Putting down wells and having access to drinking water is super important. I had several starting colonies that didn't get to stone blocks fast enough and didn't have enough planks and ran out of drinks that comes with. Is when your party starts, if you'll remember, they were all standing around right here where these crates and barrels and stuff are, and there's stuff stored there, you know, like all your beginning equipment and stuff is there, you know, tools, perishables, supplies, stuff like that. So once that runs out, if you haven't gotten any already, there's no saving grace. Your gnomes will just grow thirsty and die, and it's or hungry, depending. Although hungry is easy to get to, all you need to do is forage the ground and forage enough fruit trees, and you'll be able to feed them. You can't just spontaneously give them liquids unless you build wells. So that's very important. You can see we've got our two yaks there have survived this month, and we've got this straw farm right there, which has already gone through one planting cycle. As you can see, there's straw on the ground there, so that immediate worry is done. I can start using the excess straw to build beds and stuff for my little guys here, so they're not sleeping all over the floor, which is just bad for business and bad for your back. Over here in front, I've got 3 other farms, 2 strawberries and 1 cotton. You could just have large farms, and in the beginning when I first started doing this, I'd just make these huge swaths of farms. And that really didn't work out all that well, because later on, many years later on in game time, you'll start to actually be able to produce more than you'll use. So you end up attracting pests. So sometimes you want to moderate your output later on in life. Well, it's easier just to have several small farms that you can turn off and on, or descend and ascend their priorities accordingly with whatever amount of workforce or work pool that you've got. Say you lose all your farmers, and then you've only got 1 or 2 left that are farming any good, and they're all managing this cotton farm, or the rest of your guys are starving because they haven't harvested the strawberries yet, because the cotton farm has a higher priority still in its priority chain. Well, you could have changed that, but I'm speaking from experience of watching my little guys just drop like flies and not understanding why, and having to go back through the older save and find out why. Okay, what was I doing wrong? How do I fix it? Da 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 da. So, yeah. So that's it. So okay. Small note about these workshops right here. These right here, you have sawmills. You can see the little table with the saws and stuff like that. Over here, you have your carpentry, and on this left side, you have stone cutters? Yeah, stone cutters that cut blocks out of raw stone. Remember those stones that you mined out of the walls? Simple conversion 101. And then you have the stone cutter, or stone mason down here that actually builds stuff out of stone. All very essential stuff, mostly, well, yeah, I mean, there's stone swords and axes and hammers right now is what I've got them churning out because I need my little guys to be defended because we had our first wild animal spawn, and luckily it was fairly non-aggressive, a monitor lizard. Doesn't sound like a bad thing to you and I, but it's death on fucking wheels to gnomes that are unarmored and unarmed. Thankfully, the monitor lizards just tend to run away. I'm glad it wasn't a bear or something else. Or sometimes bears attack for some reason, sometimes they don't. I'm not sure what the mechanic is there. We do need to eventually kill one or two of those wild animals that spawn simply because they drop bone and leather, and you have to have bone to make bone needles, to make a leather shop, to make leather armor. So the steps are required. You can't pick up bone anywhere else. You can't even, if you have one of your guys die, you can't butcher them. So it's kind of stupid, but you can do your yaks, but your yaks are more importantly putting out milk and more yaks. Once you get up to a certain amount of yaks, then you can start cutting off and killing the excess. And I'll explain all about butcher shops and food-related logistics later. Right now we're just like, Adam and Eve, eating stuff off the floor. Alright, have I explained everything? Yeah, that's... Okay, the next stage of complexity. Now, I've already edited some of their professions to change, like, for example, builders. My builders, normally all they do is just build. They have this misc down here, and it says construction and hauling. That's all they do. They build stuff when you have all the components made. They'll pick them up, carry them over to where you want them, and then build the thing, put it together, and then go away. They don't do anything else, and then they haul stuff, meaning they pick up things that are on the floor and move them to a designated area where you have them set to stockpile. They won't. Say if you have a stockpile for dirt, and you want them to pick up the stone, they're not going to put the stone in the stockpile for dirt. You have to go to the stockpile and enable stone to be stored there, and then they'll go, oh, okay, and then pile it all in. Yeah, that's the easiest way of saying it. Well, for me, especially early game builders, I like them to be able to do 3 separate things, and that helps out as like a secondary that helps out other more focused workers. And so I make them able to do masonry, which means making things and knickknacks out of the stone blocks that we just looked at. Carpentry, which means taking the actual logs and making planks, or taking the planks and making chairs or any number of the other components. This allows them to basically in their idle time fill in for the more dedicated carpenters that are like my woodcutters, or the more dedicated masons, which are my miners. I've found that it runs things more smoothly, assuming that you have and keep up with enough of these action areas, these workshops. Notice how I always build, well, at least in this opening structure, I always make sure that I build 3 of these carpentry workshop types. 3 sawmills, 3 carpenters. So that they'll always have something going on. These 3 sawmills automatically have, I've gone into them and had them all start making planks and then put it on repeat. And so any point in time when anybody is idle with either my woodcutters or my builders, they're going to be over there making planks out of wood, because you will run out of that so fast. it's not even funny. You want to have hundreds of planks set up as you go out through the game. So you'll see. Okay, so builder, that was the example. I haven't really changed anything else because for the moment we don't need really like specialized builds like the doctors and the researchers and things that you'll see, or like the soldiers yet. So speaking of soldiers, we need to start getting our little dudes equipped. So this is the military overview. We don't have any squads designated. We don't have any known enemies on the map that if any one of my guys could see an enemy, it would be on this drop down list. That doesn't mean that there aren't there. I know that monitor lizard's wandering around somewhere, but none of my gnomes can actually see it, so it's not going to show up on this list. All right, squads. If you don't have a gnome that is in a squad, say you just got some new visitors, some new citizens, they're not going to start out in squads. So they're going to have whatever your default uniform is going to be. We're going to deal with the default uniform later on. When I was last playing this game, it wasn't really effective having all of your guys have a default uniform because it wasn't sticking right. So hopefully, I think that's been plenty fixed. So yeah. One of the things that I do love about this game is its naming convention is very, very humorous. So my first squad is going to be the Random Flutists, and currently they're going to have whatever the basic formation is, and each one is going to be classed as the basic soldier. And we're just going to go down from the top. Later on, you can start arranging your people by, like, have all the miners in one, and have all the carpenters in one. And that, depending on how you want to do with that, if you do want to do, like, a citizen soldiery sort of concept, or if you want to do dedicated only soldiers, but it'll be a smaller percent of your population, but all they do is fight. There's no one specific way that will work. Like right now, the citizen soldier issue will work. So my guys are so few, they have no real choice but to fight. So we'll get more into that later. So, all right, so that squad's full. New squad, the Dyed Tomes. No, the Cudgel Smokers of Breaches. Yes, that has to be it. Okay, so we got 4. Okay, so they all have the basic soldier. So now we have everyone assigned to a squad. Then we go over to the formation. Notice how each of these squads has what is called the basic formation. Now here's where we kind of change what the perk is for the basic formation. So essentially every squad that is of the formation of basic formation will have this perk once we change it. Normally, for most of my games, I do the best defense is a good offense because I have my guys always have two-handed weapons. Or I'm sorry, not two-handed weapons. One weapon in each hand. So, but I don't think that I'm going to do that this time. And all that's musketry. I don't need those perks. I think I'm going to do shield wall because I'm trying to get every single one of my guys to have a shield. Okay, so representing the 5 different positions in the squad, you can further complicate things by actually having like every single single person in the formation having different set of armor and a different set of jobs. So like, you know, 2 guys could be musketeers, and then 2 guys could be like two weapon fighters, and then 1 guy could be like a big shield and a sword or something, you know, and he'd be the leader. I rarely get that complex in this, and it might be why I only get up to like year, I think my record is like year 18 or something like that. But for the moment, we aren't going to change any of that. We're going to go down here to perform. They perform attack orders. Basically, when you right-click on an enemy that's visible, you can right-click and have everybody attack. And this means that they are eligible to be grouped into that. Defend gnomes. This means that essentially, as soon as anybody spots an enemy, everyone in this squad will drop what they're doing, drop everything on the floor, grab their weapons, and go attack whatever it is. This right now is not great because essentially it means that, say one of my guys is off in the wilderness and he spots a honey badger. Well, he's going to defend himself, and so he's going to run at that honey badger, whack it on the head, and that thing's just going to turn around and open up every artery in his body. And he's going to die before anybody else can get to him. So I don't want this to have happened. It has happened. That's why I'm pointing this out. What I'm going to do is actually have everyone avoid enemies, meaning that if they encounter an enemy, they're going to run the hell away. Now, they still perform attack orders, so I can still force them all to assault. But if they run away first, they can more than likely escape for long enough that someone else can come running and help. That's the concept. We'll see if it works. I don't remember doing this exact setup, but as I've been thinking about it, I'm going to do it. So, all right. So remember back here in the formation, this basic soldier section. Now you can go to positions and edit what the basic soldier means, and you give them a perk, individual. So, not using two-handed weapons. That's what I usually have as frenzy. Increase block, chance, and rate, and the rest of those are musket and whatnot. So, okay, so everybody's going to have a guard as their perk, and their uniform is going to be, well, we're going to have to make a new uniform over here. So, pursue lost targets, yes. Maintain distance, no, because we're not using ranged weapons. Retreat if bleeding, yes. You want them to, if they get a bleeding wound, you want them to go running after bandages. You do not want to have them just stand there and fight because they will bleed out. Retreat to equip a uniform, yes. Retreat to refill ammo, no, we're not using ammo. Assist the squad leader, yes. Meaning, back here, formation, whoever your leader is right here, whoever he's attacking, everybody else will glomp onto instead of like hitting a bunch of different targets per se. So yeah. Okay, so uniforms. New. Name of starting crap. So really, we're going to do any. There is one complete set of armor, but nobody ever gets all of it. It's just kind of a pain. But right hand, we're going to go any. No. Right hand, we're going to go any. Left hand, we're going to go wooden shield. Any. Now, you could set, like, what type of wood shield as an example, or what type of any sort of weapon. but we're just going to do any. And then you can set the quality. Like if you had a bunch of stuff just laying around and you only wanted your guys to equip the masterfully created ones or the average ones, and anything else you were just going to recycle, which is smart, here's how you do it. We're not doing that here. So, all right, we're going to hit back. So, military for the moment is sorted out. So we should, when we unpause this, everyone should kind of run towards equipping themselves. Wooden shields are not yet all 100% completed, so... Now over here, this large area that we're currently hollowing out, you can see where the stone is versus where the dirt is. So once we start going down into the ground, things will get more obvious. Yeah. All right. So at this juncture right now, we're just kind of waiting for different projects to be completed. Really, we don't have any idle. All the farmers are farming. All the miners are mining. All the woodcutters are wood cut to today. So where's this gonna go? Why isn't no one equipping it? Oh, that's right. That's why. See how easily I overlooked that thing. Starting crap. Back. It is now summer. All right. Day 1. Let's see if I get any new gnomes. This is when new gnomes will arrive, if they will. Why are you gathering up clay? Oh, that's right. Okay. See, here's where the stockpiles I was talking to you about. One of the warnings is that if you leave a huge amount of stone or dirt just lying around in the ground and not in a stockpile, eventually it will self-animate into a golem. Dirt golems, not that difficult. Later on, high-end stone golems, when you're deep into the earth, and yeah, you're fucked. So you have to kind of keep it in mind of don't overextend yourself like that. Saving. Okay. We get any new? This is about the time when we find out if we got any new gnomes. And it doesn't look like it. You attract more gnomes as the net worth of your kingdom goes up. And right now our net worth is not all that high. Oh, yes, we got 4. Alright, well, I wasn't planning on... First, let me save that. I wasn't planning on explaining the character sheet as much this time, but we've only been at this for 20-something minutes. We can go ahead and jump into that a little bit. Okay, so I got these 4. Remember how I named my gnomes earlier on to try and help me organize who they were and switch back and forth between their jobs? Well, now we have these 4 gnomes that we don't know what their skills are going to be right off the bat. So we have to kind of look. Now, if you hover your mouse over the nomad part, usually it will show up like this guy. He already has higher end skills with carpentry, wood cutting, and wood carving. Now it's just showing you some of the highlights per se. You can go through and look and see what he would be using if he was in these profiles. So he's not a bad. Anything over 10 starting out is good. Let's put it to you that way. Anything over 10 is good. In the 20s is great for a starting out game. Anything over in the 20s is great. It's just stellar. So we're looking at. He's not a bad blacksmith. Which is not important yet, but it will be very soon, within like the next month or two. Is going to be very important that you have smithing capability and start converting your metals. If I had an engineer's bench or need to build one this early, he would be an engineer. And jeweler, yeah, okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and make sure that he's a woodcutter. And so for the moment, we're gonna go to him and say wood. Back. And notice how it doesn't change anything right on here as of yet. It's just not a latency. It just doesn't update it like that until you close out all of the menu and then come back into it. So you just have to be kind of circumspect. But these guys, they aren't really good at any one particular job sphere that you have currently. So let's open up their equipment, or open up their actual character sheet. Ta-da! This is what that looks like. And I'm going to kind of expand this a little bit just to make things easier on all of us. Okay, so now this is one of these little guys that we just got. And these are all the attributes of which make up his abilities. Going over here, the attributes on the top left, I don't know them by heart per se as to like what they do in relation to what these skills are. 99.9% of the time, I am only focused on what task skills they can do and where they start out at. Later on, if I try and do like designated soldiers, like for every like 4 nomads that I have, I'll have 1 dedicated soldier, and all he does is train, fight all the time. Which I'm not sold on completely. I kind of like the reservist concept, and I'll show you Again, getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, combat skills. Not all that important right now because everyone's going to be crappy. This guy's great with an axe, but you'd have to micromanage him specifically into a uniform that required an axe. Or you can just not worry about it and let him pick up whatever is around and hope he gets an axe. He's got a 1 in 3 chance at this point. Either way, they'll go up as he uses them, which will be very slow because most of these guys are workers. So, not a huge deciding concept here. And moving on to the skills. Okay, he is masonry is at 11, mining is at 5. He's not gonna touch a pick. Wood cutting is fine. He can chop down trees, okay, but his carpentry is less than stellar. Wood carve is less than stellar. And to be honest, I have 3 woodcutters. I don't need more right now because we're topping out on the need for that particular job type at the moment. Smelting is 7. Smelting is one of those skills that's not like he can do it badly. It would just, as his skill progresses and he gains, it just becomes faster. That's all that the smelting thing is. So never, like if the guy's really good at blacksmithing and armor crafting and weapon crafting, which this guy isn't, but he's shitty at smelting, don't worry about that. Just throw him into the blacksmith patch and he'll be fine. Or just a dedicated smelter. It doesn't matter. All you're worried about is time. However, if you have a guy who is shitty at weapon crafting and you throw him into the blacksmith, there's a chance he's going to fill one of the job orders to make a weapon and produce a really crappy weapon with metal that you can't get back. Like even if you were to recycle that crappy weapon or piece of armor that he made, you would only get half of the product back, if that. I think it's half. Anyways, so you'd lose out, and there's only so much metal on the map, and it can be very hard to get to and very dangerous sometimes, just depending on what is below us. And it is all randomly generated, so we don't know. So be very circumspect who you throw into the blacksmith category. You want them to have at least a 10 in weapon crafting or armor crafting, unless you decide to split it up and delete the blacksmith and make 2 classes. One that does smelting, blacksmithing, and weapon crafting, and one that does smelting, blacksmithing, and armor crafting. Because you're going to have somebody who's got a great armor crafting but can't make weapons with shit. So you don't want to waste it. So, as I said, can be as complex or not complex as you want. But for the moment, he looks like he's a really good rancher. And farmer, meaning that he's got weaving, tailoring, pottery, leatherworking, bone carving. What's his animal husbandry? Yeah, it's at 15. 10 butchery. Yes. Alright, this guy is absolutely going to become my second rancher. While I don't have that many yaks or any other livestock at the moment, later on having several ranchers will be very important. Now let's close this out and then open that back up so we can... there's our rancher right there. Rancher. But in the meantime, I usually have my ranchers becoming farmers, or they can cook, they can butcher, they can weave, they can be leather workers. They're really one of the ones that I kind of load up with extra job titles because they have a lot of free time in their main course. Later on, when you've got 50, 60 animals going on, and they're feeding them and milking them or shearing them or moving the eggs, it's just really complex. They will have less spare time, but then you can further specialize once you have the population base to do so. All right, without further ado, let's get this guy, masonry, cartridge, smelting, blacksmithing, weapon. Ah. Okay. So he's good at a lot of stuff. Alright, here's one of these guys that farm black. He's going to be a blacksmith. And that's what I'm going to use him for later. But for the moment, he's going to be a farmer because I don't have any of the equipment or action areas that I need to make him a blacksmith. I.e., he would just be wandering around doing nothing. So we're just going to change him to farmer for the moment. Farmer, yes, okay. Yeah. And last guy is blacksmithing is great. Metalworking, gravity. See, this is exactly what I was talking about. These two guys are the exact opposites. One can make decent armor, one can make decent weapon. They can't do both, so I'm going to have to split them up eventually. It's not really all that great in some other stuff. Mechanic, animal husbandry, sharp, butchery. Yeah, he's not really good at much. Wait, carpentry, 10. Masonry, 9. Smelting, 12. We will make him a builder and build black. So once we get sorted, he'll become a blacksmith. So at the moment, he's going to be just a builder. Because you can never have too many builders. That's kind of a misnomer. Let's say hi to my little lady. Okay. All right, let's kick this off and start going. One of the things that I did do that I've not really mentioned is that I removed the ramps all the way around this first floor. Except for right here at the center. So anyone who wants to get up onto this mountain right in here has to go through this set of ramps right here. So what that does is that, I also reduced all these around here and these around here. So what that does is basically it just controls the direction by which my gnomes and potential enemies or animals travel. Oh, yep, there it is. So as an example, there's our first dirt golem. Attack all squads. Now, this shouldn't be too difficult. Oh, there's another one. But there's always the off chance that somebody could get hurt or killed. Oh, we haven't assigned. Oh, yes. Squads. Forgot about we got those 4 new guys. So go to one that doesn't have a squad. Back. Oh, that was stupid. Squads. New squad. The Print lawyers. Oh. Oh man. I love this. Formation. Basic formation. Boop. Okay. Now there's not enough weapons and armor to go around, but at least we've got it set up to get figured out. Military enemies. Dark Golem. Dark Golem. Dark Golem. All squads. Okay. There we go. Now, somebody should have been along to pick up all these swords and hammers, but... Okay, somebody did. Now you can't necessarily watch the combat as it's going, but you can look at this group fight under here, under the events and combat area, and kind of go back through and see what is going on with your gnomes, and you can find out like who's hitting who's not hitting. You know, it's basically a whole bunch of gnomes punching these dirt golems to death at the moment. It's not really all that effective. I don't know why this guy's stuck here and not fighting. Maybe that flee from thing is not that great. Oh, there's that freaking monitor lizard. Dirt golem. Now we can look at his health, see what. Serious injured, dazed and fallen over, which is about the best situation that you want it. Dirt golem, health. Bunch of that. Great. So, hopefully, doesn't look like any of my guys are gonna die. Today, at least. Right now. But we do need to start picking up all this dirt, because else it's just going to generate more. So. Kind of taking forever. Dirt golem has died, finally. Okay, good. It only took forever. I'm gonna change this over to not avoid enemies, but not defend gnomes either, because we were having some weird issues with that. So, I need to expand this stockpile. Because we've got too much dirt. No, I will just make another stockpile over here. Now, these stockpiles are not going to be forever. These are just for the moment to get dirt and stone off the floor. That's it. Eventually, I will transfer them to other areas. You can even make like training pens where these golems will spawn because there's just dirt everywhere, because they'll stack them up, I think like 64 pieces per square. And then you take the stockpile away, and all of a sudden you have this huge condensed area of dirt, and so dirt golems just spawn everywhere. And so it's great if you have like a training regimen for some of your people. I need to make 4 more wood shields. start making some sisters. 1, 2, 3. 3 buckets. 1, 2, 3 wheelbarrows. Very important wheelbarrows. See what my population is doing. Tilling, crafting, tilling, stock items. These red workshops right here, they are, there's too much stuff on the ground. They're cluttered, i.e. they've produced up to a certain point where the output area is blocked, so they are so they aren't producing anymore. Normally that's a bad thing. That means that they aren't being taken to the stockpile properly, or they aren't being used fast enough. However, at this current point in time, I'm using it to kind of moderate how much I'm putting out, because I don't have my finalized stock area where I want all of these things to go. These in-between resources like planks and blocks and stuff that get used that aren't raw resources, but they aren't finalized product either. They're just in process. Yes. A poorly crafted serpentine hammer. Yes. Oh shit. I need an aggressor, like, immediately. I didn't know I already had one. So that means, crap, I need to set up, build workshop, mist, market stall, any table, any chair, doesn't matter. How do I spin it? Rotate? There it is, rotate, yes. So you gotta look like crap right there. It's gonna look like crap right there. I think I want to just take a little chunk of this. Do I want to do that? Do I want to do it in between? I think I'll do it in between. So it gives them kind of like a little cove. 'Cause eventually you'll have lots of different merchants. So we'll get that burning. There we go. Thank you. For the sake of time, we'll just speed this up a little bit. Okay, now that we've got those all cleared out, what we want to do is build miscellaneous workshop, which is market stall, which we don't really need yet per se because we don't have any merchants, but we will be getting, because that ambassador's coming. Once the ambassador gets here, I'll have to build him a place to live. Where do I want to put the ambassadors? We might be able to fit some ambassadors in here. Alright, so let's come in here and we'll just kind of explore in here for the moment. Give us some be able to do this area, and this area looks pretty secure. Might be able to give them a view of the water from their rooms. I don't know. We'll see. I was gonna kind of close this up and make it a reservoir, but you know, I don't envision the water being as much of a problem as normal. Do I want to just open this all up and then build the rooms? I don't have the manpower. Okay, so give each of the ambassadors maybe, because later on the ambassadors get more complex and they get more demandy as your net worth of your kingdom grows. So they want their rooms to be valued more. So you end up having to put like statues and different tiles on the floors, and you give them better beds and better accommodations, and in fact most of the time better accommodations than your own guys. So we'll see. Oh, my little lady's so cute. So you want each one to have basically like I would, if I was underground and with no areas or constraints, I would say easily a 10 by 10. Just give them a 10 by 10 section, and they'll be happy with that. However, because I'm in this, where do I want the hallway to be? Okay, so that'll be a room right there, and I have a view of the water and everything. And we'll give them a room with the other next ambassador that comes through. Dude, give you a water view too. I just like it thematically. There's no actual point to giving him a view of the water. And then there's going to be our main wall, and then next, and then hallway, boop. And then we'll do there because I like symmetry. Do the next room. I'm just going ahead and preparing this now. Might as well, because later on it'll just save me time. because my guys can just come in here, dig this whole thing out, and then I've got all the room to spare, and I don't have to worry about anything. I think this guy's gonna have like a jacuzzi in his room, basically. So he's gonna have a whole water in it, which I guess in the gnome world is great. It's really a freaking large room. So this guy is gonna be the nicest room, probably. Okay, so now that's all lined up. Yeah, okay, that's gonna be pretty much it for this episode, at least. Don't wanna eat up too much of your time. All right, thanks for joining me. Cheers.